Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
man.
start. So,
Yeah.
officially, I'm just gonna welcome you to the show. Welcome to Meet the Industry,
Thanks, man.
and glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Siddharth, what's your role currently in the industry? Like, I know you run a label called Oaf Records,
Yeah.
and you're doing a lot of stuff within the label.
Yeah.
So, could you take me through what it is that you do?
Okay. So it's a little bit of a tough one because, like you said, there are so many things that's happening. So, Oaf Records essentially focuses on three things. There is artist management, there is media,
Right.
there is a
Right.
consultancy side. So these are three things that essentially Oaf is doing. Uh, the first point, like I said, the artist management part. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very clearly.
Yeah,
Can you hear
your
me?
video was stuck. Yeah, I can.
Ah,
The video
okay.
got stuck. So like I said, there is music, there is media, and then there's consultancy. So the music side is where we cover artist management, we cover and artist management and everything else that comes within the scope of artist management. So there's PR, there's
Okay.
marketing, there's digital, there is design, there is all sorts of stuff. There's social media strategy, all of that. So
Right.
that's where the artist management comes in. And now, as far as artist management is concerned, there are 6 bands on the roster right now.
Okay.
And these artists that are signed full time are
Mhm.
part of what we call the Oaf Gang.
Right.
So
Okay.
these guys are part
I've
of the
seen that
Oaf
on
Gang.
your Instagram. You using the word gang a lot.
Yeah, Oaf Gang. Yeah.
Right.
So Oaf Gang is our artists, the artists in our roster. There's a new band
Okay.
coming, which I'll talk about. I'm guessing launching next month. Super excited about that.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that is the Oaf Gang. Now outside
Right.
of the Oaf Gang is where the consultancy wing comes in, which is what
Okay.
I had told you about the other day. So
Yes.
what I've been
So
doing is
actually, can I back you up a little bit
sure,
and
sure,
maybe we speak a bit about the artist management side as
definitely,
to the bands that you have on the roster?
definitely.
Um, what kind of identity did you have in mind for the label when recruiting these bands?
Okay.
We go one by one actually. So I'll just start by asking you, uh, how did the label come about? I'm assuming that the idea of the label was it came from a artist management perspective rather than like a consultancy or a media perspective,
Yes, it
right?
came from an artist management and media perspective.
Okay. Right.
It's just the
So how
narrative
did
of
it start?
what I've called media,
Okay,
essentially.
actually, so since we spoke about how you started off records,
Your
and
voice is breaking.
is it
You're
is it
good now.
gone? Is it clear?
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it's clear. You were
Sorry.
saying? Yeah.
So we had spoken about how Oaf Records came into being, and that had to do with you also being part of a band and you
Yeah,
having managed artists. So can you talk a bit about that?
for sure, for sure. So, like I said, I've been a vocalist in metal bands for a very long time, about 12, 13 odd years. When I was
Okay.
in the 11th grade is when I had started. And it was almost like a default thing where even the first few bands that I joined when I was in college, I
Hmm.
was a manager. And
Right.
when you're a college band, the manager
And
duties.
how do you like become a manager of a band? Like, how does it start?
Yeah, so that's what. So in college, there is barely any management to do. It's more of being
Yeah.
the point of contact for whoever is
Right.
calling you. There's very little negotiation. There's very little.
Yeah.
It's not like you're playing a lot of paid gigs. You're doing competitions and things like that. So this was more of
Right.
just the person who's the point of contact. And over and above that, it sort of became management. Like when you ask me, how does it become management? It became management where, in the tiny way, where it came into me pushing for things like a jam, me pushing for things like planning things before a gig happens, getting
Right.
creatives ready, deciding what we're going to wear, for instance, things like that. So it was,
You took that initiative to
yeah,
basically.
that initiative sort of just built because I've
Yeah.
done a bunch of sales and marketing in my life. So I think it just sort of
Okay.
picked up from
Came
there.
out.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so that's
And usually that one person is always there in the band who knows a bit
yeah,
about,
there's always, yeah.
being
And
out there and
yeah, and like right
not
from the
being
beginning
reclusive in it.
in all of the bands where I ended up becoming that person, everybody was, on board with doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's usually like that, no? Nobody wants to take that effort, and then there's always that one guy who does it.
Yeah.
So
True.
yeah,
So then you ended up managing a bunch of bands in college and coming back to
No,
how
no, no,
Oaf
no, no, no,
was
no.
called.
So in college, I used to manage my own bands. I never
Okay,
was managing other bands. I used to just manage my own bands. So
right.
it came from there till it reached a point where, after a few years of working, I did a bunch of things, and then I knew that I wanted to switch and start a label, which is
Hmm.
when Oaf came in. That is when I started picking up bands outside of the bands that
Okay,
I am a part of. Yeah.
right.
And in that course
And
of
then,
time, whatever I was trying to do in terms of management, what I do now, I was
uh,
sort of testing that out with my own bands before
right.
it
So,
became.
so how did you go about signing your first few bands, and uh, which, I
Your
mean, which,
voice broke again, man. So sorry.
sorry, I think my connection is a bit choppy. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So, my question to you was which were how did you sign the first few bands, and what was the first few bits of success that you had with them?
Okay. So the first band that I signed again outside of my own two bands, which is Tangents and Haiku-Like Imagination,
Hmm.
was Cinema of Excess. So Cinema of Excess
Okay.
is an acoustic trio based out of Bangalore. And with them, it was really interesting because a lot of people, when they knew that I'm going to start a label and things like that, because I was in two metal bands, a lot of
Hmm.
people had the idea that it's going to be a metal label,
Yeah.
and there'll be
Yeah.
a lot of metal bands. And I don't have any metal bands outside of my own. And that's not
Right.
because the opportunity just hasn't shown up. I'm waiting for a metal band to sort of really
Right.
drive and
Right.
push. But anyway, like I said, so Cinema of Excess was the first band that I started working with, and with them, you asked me what was the first sort of step where we started seeing success, right? So,
Yeah.
for instance, when I met them, these guys were still in the process of recording their first album, the
Okay.
first EP, Bring Back the Sound.
Okay.
And when I joined them, these guys were ready with the music. It was just a matter
Hmm.
of releasing it and then
Recording
doing
it and
something with it. The
okay.
recording was
Okay.
done, and before I came in, they had played one show in Bangalore at a pub, and they weren't called Cinema of Excess then; they were called The Wait. And
Okay.
so these guys came in, and then they the bassist called me because the bassist of Cinema of Excess used to initially play with Tangents and Haiku.
All right.
So his name is
Right.
Abhit. Yeah. So Abhit introduced me to these guys because he knew that I'm getting into this, and then I had started calling Oof Oof. I'd put a name to it.
Yeah.
So that's when Abhit called me on board, and then I started working with them. So when their first album was done recording, and then we were looking for those first couple of shows that was my job to give them. We
Right.
set up a couple of these album launch gigs in Bangalore. And there was one that we had done at Primal and one that we had done at the Humming Tree. And
Right.
these were what we did is, I remember at Primal, it was really cool because we played with Blushing Satellite. Blushing Satellite opened for Cinema of Excess.
Uh huh.
It's a Bangalore based band, and we had about 250 odd people. So
Hmm.
that was, I think, for all of us in a way like a huge success. And what
Right.
we started doing after that is really sort of creating a vibe for Cinema of Excess in terms of not just what you're looking at visually,
Hmm.
what you're
Hmm.
listening to, but we started this thing where every time Cinema of Excess plays a show, we
Hmm.
carry these what do you call them? These diffusers, and
Hmm.
we have apple cinnamon all over the venue, and that was a Cinema of
Oh,
Excess
okay.
thing. So the idea was
Wow.
to sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
was to get it because cinema has a super warm vibe. There's
Yeah.
a lot that we have done with our photos, all the
That's
pictures that
actually a very small thing that you
yeah
did,
yeah
which can make a big difference,
yeah. And I'll tell you,
for the
right? I'll
people
tell
who
you
were there.
the impact that we saw of it because it sounded great in our heads and all of that. So we got a bunch of these diffusers, put it all over the venue, and before you know it, the moment you step out of the venue and come back in is when you're like, yo, what's going on? That
Ah,
there's something here.
ah.
And
That was
then
very subtle.
we also started doing things like we do our own decor for the stage. So
Okay.
cinema always has a sweater vibe. That's what we follow, right? And they all sit
Okay.
on the three acoustic guitarists who sit on chairs and play.
Chairs. Yeah.
So we did a bunch of, we bought a bunch of DIY decor that we still use till this day.
Right. Right.
So we were like outside of the visual element and the audio element, which is what people are there for. If you can
Right.
give
There was
them
one more layer added to
one
the
more layer, and the
experience.
point of it was not to do it once, because then there's no point. The point of it
Obviously.
was to
Yeah.
consistently do it,
Then it
so
just
that,
becomes one of those nights at one of those
yeah,
venues.
people, I'm not even expecting people to realize it the second time. I'm expecting them to realize maybe the fifth time. They're like, yo, this wasn't there. Because in the beginning, you might just
Right.
think it's the venue smelling great. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
the idea
yeah.
was to take
Exactly why I
cinema,
said that, it would be a venue thing more than a band thing.
yeah. So that was that, and then another thing that we started doing, molecular videos. Okay. Another thing that we started doing with that show, apart from the diffusers, was that we'd whichever venue we're playing at, we'd speak to these venues, pick up a dish from their existing menu, and
Hmm.
sort of make it a special for the day.
Make your own, give your own spin to it. Like an
Um,
ex.
Not all venues had the time for us to give our own spin to it, but what we did was,
Okay.
for instance, at Humming Tree, we had two artists. There was Cinema of Excess, and then the second artist that I signed, Stevie. I did a
Yeah.
show with them together.
Yeah.
So Cinema of Excess picked up hot chocolate from the menu, and it was called
Hmm.
Rooftops Hot Chocolate. Rooftops is one of Cinema's songs.
Okay.
Stevie picked
Okay.
up Cookies, and it was called Little Stevie's.
Okay. And was it
And
like a permanent fixture in the menu for
no,
Humming
that's
Tree?
the thing.
Only
That's the
during.
thing. It's
Okay.
only during uh, the deal wasn't even for us to make a cut out of that or anything. The idea
Right.
was just to add to the vibe, where
Right.
there are one or two dishes that represent what the artist wants. It's at the same price,
Right.
or it can be cheaper. That's up to the venue. That's something I discussed with them. But it's
Okay.
up and center. It's not on the menu.
Right.
There's like
I
people
see what
like,
that does actually to the crowd. Like when you go to a gig, you feel
yeah,
a bit more personal when
exactly,
you're selecting something.
exactly.
It's again one of those small things, but it sort of creates its own
Yeah,
vibe
it goes a long
in that
way in
moment.
sort of
It
in
does.
how people
Yeah.
perceive the band.
Yeah.
And
It
again,
also
with
shows
Cinema
that
of
the
Excess,
band or the organizers are taking effort
yeah,
to make this something unique,
yeah.
which makes the crowd feel a little more important and cared for.
Yeah, exactly. And then more than anything else with Cinema of Excess, the idea was to, like, really tap into that warmth factor
Right.
and
Yeah.
do that with these things. And then we'd
Yeah.
have a merch counter
You did
where
have a
all
strong
of the
vision to
diffusers
that.
are, and then we've set up the merch counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
saying
the
that you
idea
did
was
have a
to
vision
is
to.
essentially to create new things for the band based on who they are,
Right.
and it has less to do with uh, just the ideas that I have that I want to do, and it's not like I have a list of 5 or 10 ideas and
Huh.
let's use this for this band. I sort of
Right. Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
the things I've
Which.
done consistently is create for the bands that I'm working with. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get very, very, very personal with these guys. It's almost like
Yeah.
I'm a member whose job it is to just go for the
Yeah.
jams and
Yeah.
just be there. So
Yeah. So I mean, I get it that your way of um, managing a band, excuse me, is about getting a bit into the deep with the band's vibe,
exactly.
and understand what the band needs. And sometimes the people within the band, are you there? Sorry, you're stuck. Shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people within the band might not see things the way you do, even though they are the band, and
Yeah.
that's where you come in to uh, do it for them and
Exactly.
create that image. And
Exactly.
which is also a recurring theme with you and the other bands, the way
Yes.
you work with them.
Yes. With everybody. So I'm looking at of course, goes without saying that the people I have chosen, I've been
Hmm.
very particular about the artists I've chosen and I work with,
Right.
because it's not
Yeah.
one of those things. Like I said, it's not. There's a great band that I like whose sound I really like. I'm not going to them and saying, "Hey, can we work together?"
Right.
Even Inalab and any other band that I've worked with, we've had the discussion of working together. The first thing I
Yeah.
do is bring them down to Bangalore for a show.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
do a gig with them.
Yeah.
I need them to see if they can work with me.
Right.
I need to see if I can work with them. I need to see
Right.
the kind of people they are. There's a very particular sort of person in a lot of ways that I'm looking for in a band.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and as much as I'm saying that it's not, I mean, that's not the best way I can put it, because there are all kinds of people in these bands. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, little things like playing your instrument,
yeah,
jamming, isn't
yeah.
something that is dictated by oh gig hai isliye hum jam kar rahe hain.
Huh.
It's your craft.
It's part
You
of
want to make money off your
your
craft, you spend time
yeah,
on your craft. It's as simple as that.
exactly.
And even if that's not something that I don't expect them to be super mature about that in the beginning, but
Yeah,
I need it to be something that comes from inside, because yeah, that's just the game that I'm playing, I guess. That's just the
yeah.
game that I want to be in. Work
So
with
that
bands that, of course, have their sound, and are on the right track in terms of how seriously they're taking it, and how
yeah,
realistic they are about what needs to be done to get there.
yeah. And since like you said, you have a very dedicated, a particular approach to a certain artist that you want to sign, and that artist has certain characteristics that appeal to you. Um, I want to see if I mean, what's your team like? Because here you spoke about a bunch of things for which there are separate departments in a label,
Yeah,
and like see, since you're not like a traditional big label, there are people within you who handle these things,
yeah,
which uh, sort of lead to you for decision making.
yeah.
So can you talk a bit about how your team works, what a usual day in the office of Oaf Records looks like?
Looks like okay. So again, to be honest, the team is not very large.
Right.
Uh, it doesn't. It's not just execution that's with me. To be honest, like all of everything that happens, even when my team had 5 people in it,
Yeah.
uh, is ideas that comes from me,
Hmm.
is created by me, and then is executed by them, and that's only on the
Okay.
digital scale. So it isn't
Right.
a thing where different people in the team are deciding different things. Um, it's
Right.
me coming in and solely doing that, and then
No,
after
that's
that,
what I said. That people might be doing the groundwork for you, which ultimately come to you for decision making. But
hmm,
how's your team doing on different fronts? Like, I mean, you're obviously not the only person doing everything. So in general, I'm just asking about how the
yeah. So that's where it's a little it gets a little interesting, right?
okay,
It is more or less just me,
okay, okay, okay,
all of it,
okay.
the
Right.
design, the content, the ideas, the media. I do a lot of collaborative work. There are a lot of designers that want to work with me. There are a lot of with me or the artists in question, right? So it's a very
Right.
collaborative thing where my team right now is just 2 people apart from me. And
Okay.
what these guys are doing, I don't know if you know, but there's this Friday Facts and Lyric Tuesdays and these properties that are run on
Yes,
Instagram.
you told me about it.
So I have
Yeah.
one person who writes my Friday Facts. That
Okay.
doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what Oaf does, but
Right.
it's a little bit of
Right.
media. And the idea there is for the person who's writing my Friday Facts, once he understands where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
that person starts digressing into a bunch of other things that I do. But it
I
starts from
see.
there,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
after that, I have a designer who does a little bit of my work. But that's again just brand work,
Yeah. So that
the
doesn't
ego work.
necessarily mean like label work. It's kind of like a service that you're borrowing from friends or hiring them to do.
Yeah, these guys get paid, but they get paid on a
Yeah.
project basis.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, it's all of it is what I do.
Right.
Yeah,
And now let's talk about that media and consulting segment
yeah,
of your label, which I think will lead to a few sides of the business side of things
mm,
in your project.
yeah,
So I would ask you that since you are the only guy managing so many bands, and it seems that most of your work is going into making a band that can perform at a
yeah,
venue,
yeah,
because streaming revenue and all that stuff comes much later on,
yeah.
um, right? So how do you manage the label financially, and um, where does the revenue sort of come from for you?
Okay. Okay. So, like I had mentioned to you, I strongly believe in artists as well, bands as well.
Yeah.
I feel the first, second year, unless you have all that in place, your first and second year, you grind, you
Right.
get your shit together, you lay your
Yeah.
foundation, you know what you're sitting on, you know what you're doing, and you know your plan going forward. Uh,
Right.
like it's not one of those things where, okay, I've tracked my first album, what now? You
Hmm.
know what the next is, you know what's after that,
Yeah.
you know what's after that, you constantly know what's building. So
Right.
in a lot of ways, the consultancy wing that starts officially from November
Hmm.
is where my grind stops to a little bit. So these last two
Okay.
years where I've been sort of managing all of this on my own. uh, are you there?
I'm there. I'm there. This thing's. I think this is gonna keep happening.
Yeah,
These glitches and stuff,
yeah,
and
little
I'm
glitches.
sorry about it. It's
No
just very
problem.
unusual.
Uh,
But the
so
audio is fine, I think. So the audio
audio is fine.
probably
Audio is
won't
fine.
get so warped.
Yeah, audio is fine.
Right.
So it's been the same thing. Like in terms of financially, I'll tell you. Outside of the gigs, of course, that I, I book for these guys, there is a bunch of other stuff. There is a lot of marketing that I do. See, for me to really put this into perspective in terms of where the finances come in and how the finances come in.
Hmm.
One of the things that's important is, again, like I mentioned to you the other day, is that I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah.
I'm not in
Yeah.
the rush of these guys are doing this, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This label's doing that. That does not matter. The way I see it,
Yeah.
there is a pace that I'm very comfortable with, and
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
because of who I am, how I am, pace is never a big enough concern for me.
Yeah. I know
While
what
I'm
you mean.
saying that,
Yeah.
it would be wrong of me to say that I'm not concerned about pace,
Yeah.
because again, I wouldn't be doing
But you
like
don't
this.
want to make that the driver
Yeah,
for your for
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
doing.
Yeah,
Because
the
it's not
explanation
a.
of pace. Like for instance, there are artists who tell me, I want to jump to 3K followers by the end of my first album.
Yeah.
I'm not for that.
Yeah.
There are ways to do that, but that doesn't do shit. Like for instance,
Yeah.
Cinema of Excess has
You
3,000
can go to
followers,
a
if I'm not
website and
wrong.
buy those followers. You don't need
Exactly,
Oaf Records for
exactly.
that.
And even if you buy it, even if you have, what will happen? Brands will come and work with you if you have a few followers, because brands are looking at that 10K plus
Yeah. So
stuff
then
like that. So
you
for
should
me,
aim
for
for
instance, like
going
I
to a
said,
brand and not to a record label for that
yeah,
matter.
like I said,
Yeah.
Cinema of Excess has about 3,000 followers on Instagram and about say 2,000 on Facebook. So a total of 5,000. Their streams are 700,000. So
Right.
I know
Yeah.
bands that have 30K followers and don't have 700,000 streams.
Right.
Stevie is another artist who has about 4,000 followers, more than Cinema does, and he has 200,000 plays. Inalab has
Right.
400 followers and they
Yeah.
have 50,000 plays.
So
Oaf
followers is
has
not
900
exactly a measure
followers.
of how well an artist
Yeah,
is doing or
yeah.
how popular
I
is it or
feel
how
right
good their
now there
music
is
is.
too much pressure on the wrong numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The numbers that
The,
really matter are our streaming numbers, because my bands make money
yeah.
off streaming numbers, because the
Right.
numbers are substantial enough.
The numbers are
Whatever it
that
is,
good. Yeah.
that little
Yeah.
bit goes a long way. And then going
It
forward,
does.
there are multiple things like there is licensing. There's a
But
bunch of licensing that we are getting into. There are a bunch of people we're speaking to about that. There are a bunch of live streams that we have done where we've picked it out and done it. There
right.
are some wedding shows that we have done that come through in situations like these. There is a documentary that we've scored. So these
Yeah.
kind of things is where the money comes
This
in
is
for my
what
artists.
counts
And
actually.
yeah. And all
Because
of
I
these
think
guys
that
now are teachers, right? All the musicians I manage, most of them are teachers. Now, my
okay.
method of management goes into what they do personally as well. I'm pushing
Right.
their classes.
Of
I'm
course.
pushing who they are. I'm saying you should go to their classes because this is Cinema of Excess guitarist. Go to their classes because this is Inalab's drummer. Go to their classes because this is
Right.
Stevie's
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah. It's a
So
network.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
what I essentially want to do. Um, and I feel I am being able to. It's showing me some result now. Is that
Yeah.
my idea is to show that I can pick a band
Mm-hmm.
as long as I've picked it. I can pick a
Mm-hmm.
band and I can do what it takes to create for that band to take them to the top.
Right.
What that is doesn't matter.
because like you said,
How to
you
get
have
there
that,
is something that
vision,
I,
and sorry to interrupt you. I was saying that you have that vision for a band, like the thing that you did with the diffusers,
yeah.
and it's a sign of you having a vision, and that means that you don't necessarily know what you need to do with a certain band, but you will do what it takes in that moment and make
Yeah,
it work
yeah,
with the bands. Yeah,
yeah. So it's not just as simple as, depending on what happens. There is definitely a plan when I listen to the music in the first place. Again, like
mm,
I said, when I need to understand the people writing the music, that's where the media side comes in and everything comes in. That's where my marketing comes in. I'm going to market who they are, and I'm
right.
going to
Yeah,
do it in a way that people know them, not just to be a part of the band, but people know them. And in
yeah,
turn, when people know
yeah,
them, they find the band. So multiple
yeah,
ways where all of this ties into this large thing where at the end of the day,
yeah,
the person who's sort of guiding it is
yeah. And I
that's the
think
thing that I feel.
when I saw your
And
label. Sorry, continue. I'll make my
go on,
point
go on.
after that.
Okay.
So, huh. Okay, fine. Go for it. Go for it.
So, like I was saying, you were asking me financially, right?
Huh.
So financially, till now, of course, in the beginning when I had two bands, three bands, and like these bands were starting out because, like I said, I've been working with indie bands, not
Yeah.
super large bands, and a lot of
Yeah.
new bands also. So the idea has always been to uh, reach a point where I don't have a limit of I want to sign these many, I want these many bands in my roster. I just do
Huh.
not have that.
Yeah.
And if you ask me right now in passing, are you signing bands, I'll say no,
Yeah. I
right?
know what you
But
mean.
if I
Yeah.
find a band that's really going to blow my mind, I'm going to pick that up, right?
Yeah.
Now that
I kind of
sort of
feel that. I kind of feel
reached
sorry, are you there? Sorry, I was saying that I kind of feel this thing
yeah.
that you felt when I'm, discovering new music and new bands, and whenever I hear this some band once in a while that blows my mind, I'm like, whoa! And if it's a relatively new band, I'm like, whoa, these guys got potential, and I
Yeah,
start following the band, I start following the music, I listen to
yeah,
them, I keep a tab on their socials and stuff,
yeah,
and that is, I think, similar to what you might be feeling before you feel like you want to sign this band. That okay, this thing's gonna
exactly.
blow up, this guy's gonna
Yeah,
blow up.
yeah. And yes, and that's like step one. And then step two, more important than even step one in so many ways, is sort of really understanding who they are, why they're doing what they do. Is
Yeah.
the idea of doing this, is it just to release an album? Is the idea just to play shows? Because
Hmm.
again, like I said, with the pandemic, right? Um, in so many of these little interviews that I've done, uh, I've always maintained that I won't be surprised if at the end of this, the number of bands around us are lesser. The number of musicians among us are lesser in number. And that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Because the thing is, bands with my own two metal bands, right? Like most bands, many bands, the idea of wanting to go to practice and writing music is to get on stage. We
Yeah.
love it, we enjoy it. There's nothing wrong in that. But what there is to understand is that these guys, a lot of these guys are writing music for getting on stage. You know, a large
Hmm.
part of it is like that for me.
Yeah.
I like writing music to get on stage, but I also like just writing music. There are a bunch of
Yeah.
studio projects that I've
Yeah.
done that I probably never sing live. So
Yeah.
that is what I'm talking about. So it has
Yeah.
to reach a point where the musicians are practicing and are playing their instrument because they're musicians. You want to make money off your
Yeah.
craft, spend time on your craft, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a
So
big difference
financially,
because
yeah, and
like a band
financially,
can.
initially when I had a few bands, when I had two bands, and then it became three, four, five, six, and then it reached a point where bands outside, like when I signed Inalab, they're from Delhi, they were scouting for labels to work with, and they ended up working with me, right? So over there also, like what I realized is that something is working, something that I'm doing with all of these guys is working, and for the longest time all of the income that was coming in for Oaf was exclusively through live shows, just the commission that comes through live shows.
Right.
And that was
Yeah.
just about enough for me to survive,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And for me to do whatever else I need in terms of what I'm doing with Oaf. Now that sort of changes a little bit with this consultancy wing, because now, since my focus on visuals and marketing and promotion has sort of been noticed, I'm guessing there are bands who are willing to spend that money that they would have spent on a show and on gear and things like that on promotions and on PR and on marketing. So financially, this is where it really picks up for Oaf and what I'm doing.
So
Till
can
now,
you
I've
tell
been
me about?
okay with it being the pace that it has been. I've been okay with it, with my style of work being at the cost of my standard of living. I've been cool with that. As long as I'm being able to see that the bands I'm working with are actually, there's something coming out of it at
Solid.
the end of the day. There was the tour that happened. That was again really nice. That was, felt really good to see that two bands could be sent on like a 3-country tour, 6 shows, paid gigs, all of that. So all of those
What
things
bands were
have
these? What bands were these?
Cinema of Excess and one Bangalore-based artist named Mahesh Raghunandan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've taken both of them.
So, hello. Yeah, are you there? Hey. Are you there?
Yeah.
So, would you like to just talk about the consultancy thing that we spoke about in
Yes, please.
detail that day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
what is this consultancy thing? How is it structured in a way that you're making this a system for you?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so what's
So
it like?
the idea is with the consultancy, I've called it Oaf's secret sauce. The
Hmm.
idea is that there's a sauce that I use on the Oaf gang that makes it tick, and with
Right.
Oaf secret sauce, I'm selling the sauce for
Right.
other artists. Now, again, how I'm doing it here is I have 3 artists who've picked up the packages already.
Okay.
The idea, and right now I'm good with 3 artists because I need to get into the groove of it. Uh,
Right.
but the idea is eventually to put it up on my website, which is being built right now. And I'm going to leave sort of coupons that will be available. So, say, I'll explain. My packages are there are 4 packages, right? 3 are bunched together, one is a separate package. So,
Okay.
package 1, which is Oaf's hot sauce, essentially what
Mm-hmm.
it gives you is bands or artists that are looking for a PR, promotion, marketing, and production plan for a single or
Right.
an album. That's
Hmm.
package 1, that's Oaf's hot sauce.
Yeah.
Post spicy sauce, which is package 2, is for bands that are looking for general brand design. And I'm not talking about logos, although that is something we can do. Sort of just
Yeah.
creating a visual direction for them, an audio direction for them. And we have a studio here, so we have production capabilities. So that's that.
Right. Right.
And PR, of course. And then the
Yeah.
premium package, which is package 3, which is Oaf's fiery sauce, is where essentially I join you as another member in the band, and my only job is to sort of take you guys to the top. So you more or less get the
The
same
Oaf
treatment that
gang service.
the Oaf gang gets. And at the end of, and it's a 6-month contract, so longer contract. At the end of 6 months, if everything goes well, we can either push it for a little longer, or if the artist wants to drop it, we can do that. Or I extend an invitation to them to join the label. Now, the idea that is 3. The 4th one is a PR package. Now, the PR package is what two artists have already picked up.
That's like the sauce ka boss.
No. So I was thinking about it. I went a little crazy thinking about this because I didn't initially have a PR package in place.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, to be very honest, I don't like the fact that you have to pay for PR because of how it is in our country. Because, or rather, in the small scales, because the way I see it, you pay me 50K, you pay that guy 70K, he's going to do a better job. 9 out of 10 times is going to be that, right?
Yeah.
And then there are the guys who are charging lots of money. Now, these are the guys who are really being able to bring you PR, because where we are at the stage we are, I've told all of these guys, I can get your foot in the door. I
Yeah.
can't convince these guys to write 50 articles because I'm writing to 50 people. You know what I'm saying? It's more of I can help artists reach people who they couldn't have reached, but that's it. All I can do is help them reach there, right?
Correct.
If the publication or the journalist or whoever it is doesn't write, doesn't see the mail, there's not much I can do. So after a lot of conversation, my PR package is also not as simple as just me writing to people. I sort
Yeah,
of align my PR strategy with their social media strategy, considering
yeah,
they already have one, and get
yeah,
into a lot of things like radio interviews and live streams,
yeah.
licensing, royalties, things like that.
Right,
So it's really pushing it out to whoever possible,
right.
designers, my network basically,
Yeah,
designers, collaborators, musicians, people in the industry looking for session musicians, lyricists, studio work,
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, man,
Yeah,
and pretty much everyone that you might need at
yeah,
any point in your
exactly. Now with this,
industry.
that's where it changes, right? Now that once this goes live on the website, it's not going to be a thing that 10 bands can come and just buy the product and now I have to work with them. It's not going to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It's sort
I'm
of
going
going
to
to
have
be
available
auditioned.
coupons for each package. So say every
Yeah.
month I leave two coupons available for package one for package two, one for package three. When people sign up for it, they get a form which requires them to send me their music. I listen to the
Hmm.
music and then I pick. So say
Yeah.
three bands have written to me. I pick two, and there's still one left. Website says there's one coupon left, one voucher left, still to avail. So that's how I'm sort of bringing that in.
Right.
And then there is the media side, which is
Right.
again sort of really ties the whole thing together.
This media side is, I think, where we might speak about the flying
Flying Turquoise Panthers, yeah.
turquoise panthers. Right.
Yeah,
Flying turquoise panthers. FTB. FTB.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, so overall, with about the consultation thing, uh, you know, uh, I have seen some of the foreign distribution companies, agencies, or companies, whatever you want to call them.
yeah.
You know, this what you just described seems to me. It,
Sorry, Malik, your voice
I'm.
broke. Your voice glitched
Are you
out.
there? Hi, hi, hello, hello.
Your voice
Check,
broke.
check.
Can you
Yeah.
repeat that?
So what I was saying was that what you just described, the whole consultancy thing, is what I have believed for some time to be like the new age record label, you
Yeah,
know, because the traditional way of how the record labels used to operate is dying down.
yeah.
There's a whole new ideology behind what a record label should be doing,
Exactly, exactly.
and this is very much in alignment with uh, what is required for artists in the future, and the people who are going to be providing those services will be the new age record labels, as we say.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of people from from different segments in the industry are sort of converging onto the concept of this thing. Like,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of distribution companies get into this. There are already talent management agencies, or like you are a record label, but there are talent management agencies who are also providing the same services.
yeah,
So it's what I think uh, is going to be the future.
yeah,
And I think that's great that, I mean, I'm just saying that when we were young, if we had someone like this
yeah,
give us packages and coupons on a
yeah,
website, I
yeah,
mean, we would all be musicians, man, like
yeah,
proper musicians, touring musicians and stuff.
yeah,
So I think it's amazing for the generations that's going to be able to
yeah.
benefit from these services.
That's what, like,
And
most of what you and I are doing now is not going to help us. It's going to help
yeah, yeah, we are the 3G, we are
whoever's
the three
exactly.
third
We're the
generation.
3G. Yeah, we're the 3G.
And yeah, and I think that it's great because I mean, I have done artist management myself, but again, I was doing this 2 years ago, and it was very very basic and traditional back in the day. What I used to do, it
Mm.
wasn't I wouldn't consider it artist management as much as um, artist bookings and organizing shows, which is
Yeah,
very different from nurturing an artist. But
yeah,
I do kind of see this as to be the thing that I would have done if I'd
yeah,
continued with artist management.
yeah, yeah,
So moving on to the media side of things, which I think is the most interesting part and the most, I think it would be the best takeaway from our chat,
Yeah.
So what I'll ask you is that, management is one thing. As part of your record label, artist management is that passion thing that you're doing with
Yeah.
your passion for music and your knack and skills for managing people. And the consultancy thing is sort of like your financial business model to be, right, for you to become
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
the proper record label and whatever.
Yeah.
But the media side is where I think you will actually explain to, not explain, but demonstrate to artists. Just a second, now. Sorry.
No worries.
So the media part is where I think, you demonstrate how exactly artists will become uh, famous or successful, because
Yeah.
that is where the content lies. And
Yeah.
especially in the times of the pandemic where you're not going to be able to see live performances,
Yeah. Yeah.
media is the place where people will be connecting with their artists, finding, discovering, falling in love, following their artists. And the whole economy at
Exactly.
the moment is on media, which is social media and your internet and everything. And
Hmm.
that is where
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the media segment in your project.
Okay. Okay. So again, like why media was one of the things I picked um, to be before consultancy came in. When I had started the consultancy, like I said, materialized over the last couple of months, over the last year or so. But initially, the idea was always for me to hit media consistently. And when I'm saying hitting media, it was off creating our own media, whether it has something to do with music or not. And another thing that I just like to add that uh, I think was very important to me was that I noticed that a lot of you know companies, brands that you can approach for artists to work with, record labels, artist management agencies, in our scale, not the larger scales. Um, there was a lot of talk about, you know, are you an artist that hasn't been paid for 60 days? Are you an artist who's played to 10 people in a crowd? Are you an artist who blah, blah, blah? Raise your hands. We are
Yeah.
you. We understand
The
you.
artists who
Hit
played
us
for
up.
free, for
Yeah, yeah,
exposure and all that stuff.
yeah. Raise your hands. We are the same. We understand you. Talk to us. We're here for you. This is a community. All of that. The way I see it, I mean, saying it like this is might not come out too well, but the way I see it, I specifically in my brand, I don't want to talk about community on my brand. I don't want the
Hmm.
narrative on Oaf Records to be, you can just reach out to them and say, hey, bro, what's up? Fucking give me a gig. I don't want that
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
the idea has constantly been for me to build my brand in a way where when people are talking to my brand, they're talking to it with respect. Not respect for
Right.
me, respect for the fact that they're speaking to a brand. So if there's something they want, there's a gig they want,
Yeah.
because of the scale that we're working with and it's so small, and because our world is so tiny when it comes to the indie
Yeah.
music scene,
Yeah.
everybody knows each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so simple, and I've noticed this in my experience. It's so simple for artists to just expect things because you know them.
Yeah. It's a
Uh,
sense of entitlement that,
yeah,
you
and
get.
I mean, I guess that also comes with the fact that the scene works the way it does. But
Yeah.
that was one of those things that I wanted to sort of remove, because I don't want to
Yeah.
have to get into, I want to be able to work with a band because
Favors.
I want to work with them. It need not have
Yeah.
anything to do with who they are, whether I know them, and things like that.
Yeah.
So if I want somebody to reach out to me, I'd prefer they reach out to me through Oaf. I
Right.
don't even, the way I see it, Oaf is another person.
Right.
Who I am doesn't really matter.
Right.
My face doesn't go up there. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that it's the same guy. And
Okay.
I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
That works in your favor then.
I want it to be a thing where if you're writing to me, you have a proper, what you're asking me for. I want to
Yeah.
reduce the number of mails that I get that just say,
Hey,
random
bro,
shit.
what's up?
Yeah, hey, I have a track, check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to
You
eliminate
have to
that. And
speak to
it's
Oaf.
not the idea of just eliminating it. The idea of doing it, that is to also set that narrative in tone that this is what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a couple of
You
friends who
tell me you
also
want
run
to
an
work with me,
agency.
my response to you is going to be, we do this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm expecting your mail to be, I
You've
want
spoken about
this.
this thing in a much
Um,
polite way. But I have a friend of
Voice
mine
is
who runs
breaking
an.
again, Malik. Voice is breaking.
Sorry. Hello. Check.
Huh. Huh.
Huh. Uh, I have a friend of mine who's been running an agency for the past 8 to 10 years, who is so blunt now about these things that, dude, if you're gonna just message me, hey bro, check out my track and can I get gigs? Fuck you. Like, he stopped being nice about this thing now.
Yeah,
Because he's like, bro, what the fuck? Like, we are also running a business, right?
exactly.
His name is Dev Bhatia from Unmute Agency. They're based in Delhi.
Okay.
Yeah. So I totally get that.
Yeah,
That I mean, we know that in this industry things work based on who you know.
yeah.
But there has to be space for merit and excellence also.
Exactly.
If we don't,
If we keep, massaging the narrative that yes, you need to know someone, it's
yeah,
just going to
yeah,
become that.
yeah, yeah,
If the only way to do it is to call that guy, you have to be in Bombay, shit like that. The narrative becomes that.
yeah,
And then you don't get into, the worries of how do I do this, how do I do that, why are they doing this, why are they doing that,
yeah.
and
So how does the media thing come into this
got it.
theory
So
of yours?
yeah, so the idea was first, the first three pieces of media that I released was three things. I still run them. They're these weekly content pieces. One was called Mix Mondays. We have Lyric Tuesdays and we have Friday Facts.
Right.
This was sort of me dipping my feet into media. So Lyric Tuesdays, Friday Facts, super simple. Lyric Tuesdays are indie lyrics that I pick from artists across India. Pick certain lyric sections, and it's a creative that I make that depicts their artwork and their
Yeah.
music style, and that's
Right.
something that I share that happens every Tuesday. Friday Facts is just a bunch of crap that my head is saying, and that comes out there. There again, the
Right.
idea was to, from day one, uh, sort of show that I'm going to do this. A lot of people ask
Okay.
me,
So,
why are
but
you doing
what are
Friday
these
Facts?
facts? What are these facts?
Dude, all kinds of shit, dude. Like,
I mean, are they music related facts or they're
no,
just like
not
a channel
necessarily.
for
Some
like
of them are music related, some of them
content?
are not, some of them are insults, some of them are
Okay.
just
It's
random
sort of a
jokes.
venting off the topics section where you are just
Yeah. And the idea
putting
there,
something
a lot
out.
of people ask me right in the beginning, what does that have to do with Oaf? If you stop
Yeah.
Friday Facts, what will happen? Nothing will happen. The point of me doing Friday Facts is not to decide what do I do next, what sort of fact do I put that people like. With Friday Facts, my idea, I do not care about what people like and what they don't. With Friday
Ah,
Facts, the idea is I want to do it long enough because I know that that's how it works. I want to do it long enough till it becomes the norm. Oh, do you know what they do Friday Facts? This crazy shit. You know what I'm
right.
saying? In the
Yeah.
beginning, you'll be like,
Yeah.
why are you doing it?
Yeah.
If I do it long enough and I do it confidently enough and consistently enough, it's not going to be questioned. So, like I said, Friday Facts, there was Lyric Tuesdays. And then Mixed Mondays was this video series, this super meme like video series that I did with our studio, RMC Studios in Bangalore. And the idea was that it was a 10-part docu series that gave you tips and tricks on music production for metal music.
Right. Yeah.
So that was Mixed Mondays that ran on our IGTV. Outside of this, where media comes in again is when I say I tailor, what I'm doing for my bands, for the bands that I work with. For instance, um, I mentioned to you that Stevie is somebody who plays football a lot, FIFA.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, he games a lot, and the kind of music he writes is also the listener base for it is much larger abroad. Right, his style, he does a lot of British stuff, which is not regular here. So what we've noticed is even just by his stats, you can see
I can imagine the way you described it, that I might hear that music while playing FIFA only. Like it might be music
exactly.
featured on a FIFA soundtrack.
Exactly. right? So now exactly you nailed it there. So the idea is Stevie writes a lot of this drill and grime and a little bit of trap, and he also has a singer songwriter material, right? Now the singer songwriter material, that's what he has played over here. His We're changing his sound with a bunch of things that are happening, and now the idea there is with Stevie, he loves playing music, he loves playing FIFA, right? He is really good at FIFA. So we started doing these Twitch streams for him. So he streams himself playing football on Twitch, and his followers are picking up.
He has people from like abroad following.
Abroad, yeah, he has teams he
like
plays
here,
with.
Twitch is not that big. I know
exactly. It's not big at all. That's what. So it's barely any people here who watch it.
Right.
Again, over there, I'm not even asking him to worry about getting people here to watch it. There are people out there watching it. Let them watch it. We'll worry about getting these people in here when that time comes. So what we're doing there is he streams, he plays his music, people donate. Random opportunities are showing up. There is somebody whose birthday he had to
That's a whole different world only after.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, right? Like there is somebody was playing with him who wanted a song made for his daughter's birthday, 7-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And he gave him a name and some basic info, and he wrote a song, and then he got paid for that.
Sick, man.
Dude, and essentially that's something that he's
on Twitch. Like, does he only stream his own music on Twitch, or is he just playing songs in a playlist where his music is also there, and that's how people are discovering
it? He does a bunch of stuff. He does what he listens to, and then he introduces what he plays.
He just be like, okay, guys, I'm dropping a song.
Yeah. So like people just sort of go through his profile, understand, ask him,
I think at that time you're having performance, you're having streaming, and you're having like your audience at the same time, which are like different things.
Exactly.
An audience can be at home listening to a song on Spotify, or performance can be something that I'm live streaming. And so these all things happen, and at the same time he's connecting with people who might want to buy his music, which is something that hardly happens.
Exactly.
You want it for like your brand or your daughter's birthday or something like that, because otherwise no one's gonna buy your music. Amazing.
Yeah, and again, like things like there's this Bandcamp Friday that happens, right?
Sorry,
the Bandcamp waves their
Bandcamp Friday
once in a while Fridays,
right?
And the artist gets all of the money. Yeah, so now a lot of what Indian artists are doing is just putting up a post saying, "Today's Bandcamp Friday, buy it, I'll get more money."
Right.
But the Indians are not buying music on Bandcamp. No, there aren't that many people. So what we do is we go to Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit.
And there are Reddit forums where people will actively, immediately buy your music.
Yeah.
They'll buy it.
Reddit and the thing is, my DJ mixes and sort of get traction through their platform.
Yeah.
So the Bandcamp thing also works on the Reddit channel.
Works really well on Reddit, because on Reddit there are patrons who are out there looking to make musicians' life better. In India, nobody's doing that shit.
Yeah, dude, the thing is that I have known Bandcamp exists since like a very long time, and I think that if people abroad didn't give a fuck about if they would be like, we have Spotify and iTunes and all, why should we buy music? Then there would be no Bandcamp. And the fact that on any random profile, like if I find some good music on Bandcamp and I go to their profile, there are literally people like in 50s and 100s who donated for the music, which you can also stream at the same time on Spotify. And it's I don't get it, but I'm like amazed at the same time that people are actually spending on it. And I went one of those Bandcamp Fridays, I went and bought some music from my Indian bands and artists. And I was like, okay, man, it's time to give something back. If there's a chance to do it, why not? Like, give it back to some of the artists. With this album called by this band called Hitherto. I think they're from.
I actually Hitherto I had spoken to Shrey and Harsh about the packages. They're going to pick up one of these packages for their next release.
Yeah, man, I really like their new album that came out. It's totally like
really sick.
My alley.
Really sick. Audio visual.
I just randomly found them on Bandcamp only while digging for Bandcamp Friday artists and stuff, and it's amazing, man. Like
really nice stuff. So again, like I was saying, getting back to the media thing right now, Stevie streaming now, doing it his way, is just again baby steps. The idea is I just need him to be consistent with it, and he is again. So I need not worry about why aren't you doing it. He enjoys doing it, right? The idea is he does it slowly, and he's now setting up like an entire streaming space, and eventually we're going to make a show out of it. It's going to be a show that comes out on my YouTube.
Okay.
Anirudh from Cinema of Excess loves really getting into breaking down music with people who write it. So we're planning to have an interview show where he calls people and they break down sections of songs. Now, this is not for the masses. This is for musicians to watch, music enthusiasts to watch, because it's literally breaking down how did you write that chorus.
I'll definitely be watching that because like
exactly stuff like that. So again, this is when I'm saying all this. That's what I mean when I say I'm not particularly in a rush. I'm not in a rush to put out this thing and get it out and think about what will people watch, or people will watch something if there is this, so let me do that. Because the way I see it, everybody needs to be comfortable in what they're doing. And I need to be convinced that what they can do and what they're good at has been tried out before we jump to other things that they might not be enjoying doing.
I get it, because overall there is no real formula for this. Everyone's just playing it by ear and experimenting and figuring out what works, what doesn't. So I mean, the question of doing things fast only comes in when you're a big artist and you have options as to, okay, should I do things this way or that way?
But that's the thing, Malik. With fast, I don't mean just fast. I mean impatience. The impatience to, which is there, which is with everybody, right? The impatience to, okay, last gig, tab tha, next gig kab hai? Last time we released this, nothing happened. What are we doing next? This band is doing this. Why aren't we doing it? Last tour we went on was 5 months ago. When is the next one? Just fucking relax. Like, all of that needs to take its own time. It needs to, like I've told these guys, I can set up a fuck all tour for anybody. Like, how hard is it to set up a tour at the end of the day? If you have a little bit of money, the contacts are there. There are only so many people you need to know. If you've been doing this for 2-3 years, you're good. So you call these.
Thing about business in general is that doing anything for the first time is easy. But repeating it, having that recoil value from your customer for them to come back to you.
No, but that's what, the way I see it, repeating it is also not that hard. As long as you're okay with doing it, the exact same thing that you did last time. I don't see why you should put your effort into
I meant
another tour just like the one you went on 2 years ago.
Sorry, I was saying that repeating, I meant in the sense of, it indicates growth, not just repetition.
Exactly. So it's basically all of that. And so again, where media comes in is because, see, more than anything else, I have a creative bug of sorts where I'm constantly thinking of things to do. Like I said, I'm creating these with my artists. I'm also randomly creating it for myself. And like all of the design that comes out, this I told you about this concept that I'm running with this designer in Delhi. His name is Pranjal Kalia. His artist name is Ajib. So I'm creating this thing called an inconvenience store with him. This has nothing to do with music.
Okay.
The idea there is that I'm going to constantly create media. Okay. I wanted to reach the point where Oaf is creating media on the side, TV shows, Netflix, I don't know, stuff for musicians, just quirky, fresh
content.
Not concerned about how many people will like it content. But I know that there will be some people who are going to watch it. If it's 30, I'm good. As long as that 30 becomes 40 next year.
Content to watch, people are going to find it, is what I...
Exactly. So I want the idea, the approach essentially to be, when you're looking at Oaf Records, they manage bands, they create media, and that's basically about it. So there is a bunch of creative things that happen at Oaf. That's what I want to showcase with what happens here. And then, of course...
That are obviously connected to the artists that are under, that are part of the Oaf gang, basically.
Exactly.
Which is what I think is so important here, is because you're not just creating media for the sake of creating media, but it's got to sort of align with, artists.
Like, it has to.
I mean, you can do stuff.
Has to
apart from that, like what you do, like Friday Facts and stuff like that, which is not, catering to one particular artist or anything as such. But that's a
exactly
side thing, The media is where it's sort of, I feel this media is doing what it's doing is it's creating a story for the artist. It's creating a narrative for the artist, and that's what fans want. Like the fans of today, they can get any artist's music on Spotify. But
Yeah,
why will they become a fan of someone? Is because they like their story. They kind of resonate with them. Not the
exactly.
music anymore, but their story in general. The things that they stand for. Like for example, if you promote, if like there are artists who write about politics and stuff, so that
Yeah,
gives them that identity. So
yeah, yeah.
that is what fans
So
want.
that's what, like, with all of these packages also, right? Like, in case you're wondering what exactly it is that they do with their visual design, like I said, the visual
Hmm.
direction
Hmm.
and their social media strategy, one of the main things that I'm telling all of these guys, that I'm doing with all of these guys, I do with all of my bands as well, is that when I'm going to your social media, when I'm going to an artist's social media, if all I can see is come for my gig, come for my live stream, buy my music, listen to my album, I don't really need to follow the guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I make sure all my bands are doing on the roster and on the consultancy side is that I create content for them, three pieces of content, in which one or two need not have anything necessarily to do with the music. And it need not have anything necessarily to do with whether you have a release, whether you have a show, whether you are going on tour, none of that.
Yeah.
Because the idea is, if you want people to really keep in touch and all you're showing them is audio, I need not be on your Instagram. I
Yeah.
personally
Exactly.
listen to so many bands, I don't follow them on Instagram because I don't really care about what they're doing on Instagram, right?
Same. I don't
Now,
even follow
guys
some
I
of the
do
fans on
follow
Spotify because I
are
know that if I
keeping me
want.
hooked long enough. They're
Sorry, you broke off and I started speaking something, but
uh-huh.
continue.
So like I was saying is, if I'm going to an artist page, especially again, at the level that we are at the attention focus level of people right now,
Yeah.
and what needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
And what essentially you should know that you need to do is that if all you're talking about there is gig next, gig next, gig next, live stream next,
Yeah.
album aa gaya, listen to my album, Bandcamp Friday. I don't really need to follow you. If I like your music, I'll just listen to your music. I'll never buy your shit.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come out. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep listening. I really like it, right?
Yeah.
Now, for me to really get into it, I need to see character in the band.
Right.
And I see character when I'm getting into it and I'm being able to see a bunch of things. And I'm being able to see where they're coming from. So, another part of where the media comes in is for me to create this for these guys.
Right.
Stevie doing Twitch,
Yeah.
Anirudh doing this interview, Bharat doing a thing where he just plays on his guitar. There is a pop band that does a bunch of live looping, so they're creating a sort of segment for them. Inalab, for instance, since they launched and then the pandemic happened, for them they have the capability of having a video crew. So I've told them we will keep releasing video. We will constantly release video.
Right.
So recently, the band's called Inalab. We created a concept for them called In the Lab. So it's called Inalab in the Lab. And every time we put up an In the Lab video, it's going to be a behind the scenes of what happened when the song was being tracked. Now, this can go on forever. So that the concept, the conceptualization of that, the logo for that,
Yeah.
how we'll present that out there, and how it will keep coming out, things like that. So now, In the Lab knows that In the Lab is one of the things that they can do irrespective of what's happening. Wherever they are, whatever happens behind the scenes, In the Lab is something that can happen. Things like that. Tangents has a lot of focus on a lot of funny. Haiku has a lot of focus on arcade game elements. Stevie has a lot of focus on these pop, rap, hip hop elements.
Right.
So it's just sort of
Everyone has a different
giving
set of
character to all of these pages. If that's what I mean. Like, I personally don't want any of my artists' page to look like a page where all you can do is listen to music, buy the album, listen to the album. There has to be more.
And we don't even find such places anymore where there is just like, okay, this artist is releasing a music, releasing an album, and this artist is playing the show here and there. I mean, that's literally the last information you check about an artist after you've become a fan. That okay, when is his next album coming and when is his next show happening?
Exactly.
The first thing you will see is like, okay, you found the music good. Now what are they up to?
And just like, consistency, man. Like,
our only window back in the day
to be
into these
times
artists, sorry, our only window back in the day into these artists was video, like their music videos. That was the only time we could see them in the flesh, like how they are and stuff like that. Unless you see them live, which we never did. We didn't know what fucking live shows was when we were young. Like, we would, I wouldn't go to gigs. You're in Bangalore. You're quite lucky to have probably attended a lot of live gigs, but I did not get to see a lot of gigs. So for me, that window was just videos, and now there's videos everywhere, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere there's video. And
Yeah.
now music is sort of become an accessory to video. So
Exactly.
music industry is going to converge with gaming and brands and videos, films and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
don't think music industry itself is going to be a very big entity in the future because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going
I
to
hear
be
you.
in pairs with everyone.
Yeah, it's going to be in cohorts with everything that's happening in
Yeah,
history.
because people stop buying music, man. People stop
Yeah.
buying like music. Stop being a direct commodity to sell.
Yeah,
It's
that's
live
true.
performances, experiences, live streams, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That's what, no, like one of the things we all learned when we went on that tour was also that over there, it was really interesting. It was really confidence building for all of these guys because they're playing to people who don't know who the fuck they are.
hmm.
We're brown on top of that.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's an acoustic band. The
yeah,
places we went to, the band is on stage just for them to listen to something while they're drinking. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
In India, I know artists who from stage they'll say, "Hey, why are you talking? Please keep it down. I'm performing." I've never understood that. Why can't they talk?
yeah,
If they find you fucking boring, they're talking. Even might not even have anything to do with boring. They're with someone. They're drinking.
yeah,
You are as an artist to give them entertainment. You
yeah,
can feel bad about the fact that they're talking, but like essentially,
yeah.
if somebody is at a live gig. There is alcohol. There is food. You come with friends. You come there to have a good time.
Experience,
I
man.
love the band. There are only going to be so many people who come and stare at you and then go.
Yeah, I mean for that we
Everybody's
have
gonna,
music
yeah.
festivals, man.
Yeah, when we went there is when we realized our job there is not to expect everybody to give us to pay attention.
Yeah,
If you do it right, that'll happen. That happened to us, I think, even more because, like I said with Brown, I don't think a lot of people expected shit. Like we played in a pickup bar. One of the places we played in was a pickup bar, right? Like
huh.
it's nuts. Nobody gives a fuck. The band that played after us was this hardcore rock and roll band,
Huh.
right?
Huh.
And we were playing acoustic music before that. And some of these guys straight up came and asked us, "Why are you coming here and asking us to?" Mahesh has a song called Sleep.
Huh.
Cinema has a song called Sleep.
Huh.
He asked us, "Why you ask us to sleep? Why would you come to a concert and ask us to sleep?" You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, these guys also they were very impressed by the fact that Indian bands, because these guys have seen a couple of Indian bands,
Huh.
Indian bands are really organized. There is a sound check, sit down, because they don't have that shit. There is no, like the venues we played at, dude, it's a big, like the F-16s
Which
have played
country
there.
was this in?
Cambodia.
Okay.
Right, the F-16s have played in that venue. It's called Oscars at the corner.
Okay.
And there's one monitor, dude.
Okay.
You just deal with it. The vocalist gets it. Everybody else can suck a dick. You know what I'm saying? Over here it's like, "Arey, tech kidhar hai," and all of that. No, that's not even a question there. Which really.
Then again, it's
puts it into
Cambodia we are
perspective.
talking about still.
Yeah, which really puts it into perspective because when you're going there,
Yeah.
you don't feel the same way you feel when you come here in India.
Huh.
There is food waiting, there are food coupons, alcohol coupons,
Yeah.
your green room, everybody's like, "Hey, give the artist," that shit doesn't happen, dude. You play there, you get paid, that's there. You play, you get paid. 100% you get paid.
Yeah.
You don't get paid bad. You get paid, you do your job and you go.
It's
and you
a
do it long
transaction,
enough till you
basically.
reach a point where you can demand a second monitor. Rather than over here where it's so complicated, because our infrastructure is so little. But because of, I guess just how we've done
Our
things.
infrastructure is little, but like our expectations are all American.
Expectations are
Like
so
we want a
high.
rider, we want
Yeah.
alcohol, we want like green room and shit. It's because
Yeah.
like we've seen something up there and our
Yeah.
infrastructure
And
up
more
here, but
than
we are
anything
somewhere in
else,
the
my
middle.
question is, to most of these guys, when you're coming in and doing music and you want to make a living of it, do you not already know that it's going to be hard as fuck? Like, why are you surprised that 3 saal mein itna nahi hua hai? Like, come on, dude. Like, who gave you this impression that 5 saal mein it has to happen? 10 saal mein, who the fuck said? You know what I'm saying? Great for you if it does, but like a lot of times when I see that after a few years things die down, I don't even get it anymore. I'm like, bro, come on, it's cool. Just step out. If you can't handle it, it's fine. Just don't do it. But it can't be one of those things. I think I've tried everything. Not really. You know, it was supposed to be hard in the
I
first
think
place. This is one of the hardest industries to be in. You read any book, it'll tell you that.
it's not even like an industry yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, it's in the forming stages, and I don't mean to like put the whole scene down by saying it's not an industry, but I'm saying that for it to be an industry, there's still a lot of body that this industry needs to have,
Yeah.
and that's what we mean by infrastructure. Like
That's but that's like in the Indian context, right? In terms
Indian
of our
context,
industry,
obviously.
yeah.
Which is why
But-
we said that we are 3G, and
Yeah.
4G will have that infrastructure, and we are creating that
yeah.
infrastructure in some way by doing what we by persisting in this industry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that
We were talking about the Flying Turquoise Panthers. You said you
I
wanted
was
to.
just coming to that. I was like, we're talking about the importance of media and everything, and we have yet a lot to catch up on about what all to be done. But the Flying Turquoise Panthers was a story that I saved for last. And what's the Flying Turquoise Panthers? And
Okay. So the idea is these guys are essentially a band that is doing things different in the sense that there isn't one genre that they're playing.
It's a pandemic band, right? First of all,
It's a pandemic band.
Right.
Yeah, pandemic.
Pandemic.
So the thing is, the idea also changed. We updated it because of the pandemic and because of what's going to happen going forward. The idea is that we don't have the worries of how can you write different genres, what will people think, because that's one of the biggest worries, because when you have to be slotted as an artist who's performing live, where do you play, right? That's one of the biggest worries, right? At the end of the day, you're writing 5 different songs, 5 different genres. If it sounds good, people will listen to it.
Yeah.
As long as you don't club it under one album and put country and jazz, and of course you can't do that. As long as you make sense out of it, it's not impossible.
For me, it's kind of the same struggle right now, because I used to play house and techno, and since 2 years I've been just producing music, and I feel like making all kinds of music, man. So I still haven't released anything because I'm like, I don't know what I am, like what should I release? Like if I make something good, I know okay, it's good, you can release it. But then still I'm like, okay, I have a lot to still make. Like I want to make this, I want to make that, different genres and stuff. So it's hard to put that all into one package.
Exactly. So that's what the idea here is, that we're not doing anything the usual way. There is before we release music, we're going to release art.
Okay.
Like, not album art.
Comics.
Just art. Yeah, comics and all of those things. And a lot of us took, like, some of the members of the band for a while asked me, who the fuck are we releasing art before we release music? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, let me worry about that. About who the fuck we are and how we are sort of putting this out. Now, even in terms of the music that's being written, the first album that's coming out, it's going to be split essentially into 2 halves. There's going to be, it's primarily R&B and hip hop. One half is going to be the down tempo lo-fi stuff, and the other half is going to be the harder up tempo stuff.
Right.
And the idea is that these guys, there is an entire story that we have created about who the Flying Turquoise Panthers are.
Right.
And essentially the Flying Turquoise Panthers are the members of the band. And there is an entire comic thing that, I conceptualized, and then I got a designer to, build it out, work on it. And the idea is that these are 3 guys who are musicians doing their own thing. It's like a 12 slide comic. Doing their own thing, they suddenly becomes a certain time, becomes 4:10, and they leave their respective houses and things like that. And then they meet, they start walking towards somewhere, and in one frame, one of the members points, at a building far off. And keep in mind, all of these comics are black and white.
Okay.
Right? When he points at the buildings, the first frame, a little bit of turquoise shows up. He's pointing at a building far off, which is like glowing turquoise a little bit.
Okay.
They keep going closer and closer. The closer they go, the building has a bunch of like turquoise shit flying out of it.
Uh-huh.
And they go in, and there's a statue inside the building.
Mhm.
The statue is our logo. So we got the logo also done by this designer in the UK. So this it's basically a panther with wings, right?
Right.
So the statue is that. Yeah, it's a flying turquoise panther.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So these guys go touch it. The moment they touch it, that's how the comic ends. They sort of blow up into the off the roof of the building, and
Turn into a band, like
turn into like superheroes of sorts. You can't really see it, but everything becomes turquoise. And from that frame where he's pointing at the building, the amount of turquoise in each frame starts increasing. So the only colors on the entire social media is just going to be turquoise, black and white. That's it.
okay. So it's like
So the idea is these
in
guys
the beginning and then
blow up into the sky. Sorry?
I'm saying so it was all black and white in the beginning and then the turquoise starts to build.
And then the turquoise starts coming in. Yeah.
Right.
And then these guys sort of fly off, and then there's this huge thing that's going to say, where the fuck are the flying turquoise panthers?
Okay.
And after
that,
that,
like their first introduction on social media.
On social media, and as a brand, and who they are on their website,
Right.
and things like that.
Right.
So it's going to be a bunch of this story about what's going on. After which, we are going to be writing music for Instagram.
Okay.
Essentially 1 minute tracks, full tracks with vocals, bass, guitars, everything. Because one, the members can accommodate it. Two, we all discussed if this is going to be a band that's coming out during the pandemic, however good the music is, unless we're trying to do something different, it's going to do only so well. It's going to be that much harder to do it. We are putting a lot of effort into it. We have to start seeing results. So we went sort of all out with, what we are doing with these comics and with the music and things like that. So the idea is the first album is an instrumental band. We have a bunch of singers who are coming in, representing the lo-fi and the up-tempo part of the music, which is what the strategy we are following for the first album.
Okay.
After the first album, the idea is that these individual members come from 3 different areas of music.
Okay.
The idea will be that they can pick the singer that they want. I'll reach out to them and we'll write music for them.
Okay.
Now, going after the first, now why we decided to sort of have some sort of structure in the first album is so that it's easier for people to sort of really absorb what's going on, because there's already going to be comics and papers and things like that. We've made rolling papers as well. They're called the Flying Turquoise Papers.
Okay.
Flying Turquoise Papers. Then we made these cookies that we were planning to give out. They're called Flying Turquoise cookies. That was colored. That's going to be just in Bangalore. We are planning to do these things.
I'm planning to give this out during live shows.
Sorry? Yeah. But again, whenever that happens. Right now, it's going to be a thing where we sort of send it out to people.
Right now, I think it's a good time to build up to all of that. Like months later.
Yeah, we are doing a bunch of little guerrilla stuff in the city as well. We are sort of spray painting logos all over the city.
Right. It's a classic idea. I think that always works.
Yeah, tiny things. And again, the idea is to do that and then make sure that people know that that's happening. So we are getting like a little crew to go around doing that stuff. And then if people find it, they get things and shit like that. Now, going forward, which is, and this is going to come much later. You're going to be one of the very few people who know this. I guess once this comes out, a few other people will. But the idea is, can this not be in the podcast, by the way?
Yeah, man. I mean,
it can. Yeah. So the idea is there is the game that I told you. Have you played those old Pokemon?
That this kid will be discovering the FTPs in a video game.
Yeah, and this is like a full-fledged video game. We have 70 hours of gameplay now. 70 hours. Yeah, it's already ready. So we are planning to make this huge. Like I'm saying, it's not one of those games that you play and be done with. You keep playing it. It's a game that you can play forever. So we're working with a bunch of people to do this. There are some publications I'm talking to publish this game once it's out. And the idea is we're going to release these as updates where we have different towns, realms rather, named after these band members. So the realms release as updates over the course of maybe 3-4 years. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, man. That's actually, I have actually spoken to another artist a few months ago who composed music for a video game, which was also a dance opera. And
nice.
It was a combination of electronic and Carnatic music. So this whole
Okay. Oh.
started. This whole thing started with a dance opera, but then the 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 main teacher, the dance teacher of the opera, her son was a visual artist. Like he used to do a lot of video stuff with music and without music and stuff. And he came out with the idea of making a game, a video game about the dance opera. So the game is called Antariksh Sanchar, which is also the name of the opera, where these people have performed in um, the Royal Opera Hall in Bombay.
Yeah.
And another, they performed in Bangalore as well, I think, or Delhi. I'm not sure. So I saw the similarity that, that like I said, music and gaming are converging here.
So much.
For you also in such a big way that you've already seen this thing 3-4 years down the line, where you will be having levels and stuff, and like whole ecosystem for the Flying Turquoise Panthers, where there's gaming, there's comics, and with that itself there are so many other opportunities that open up for you. Like you said, there's already merchandise out there, and stuff. So it's like an ecosystem, which is amazing.
And I also feel over here when when anybody gets a little worried about will people understand what I'm trying to do, right? The way I see it, as long as it isn't rocket science, as long as you do it consistently and you just keep doing it, people will understand it.
Dude, I think there is nothing hard about understanding this, unless like, okay, if I want to become someone like you, then I need to understand what you do.
Yeah.
But if I'm a musician, I just need to focus on what I want to do and have you guide me, right? Because like we discussed, there is no one fixed way to do this. Record labels are not the traditional record labels anymore. Everyone's experimenting. But the focal point of all of this is artists and their music. That's where it all begins. And once you've got that sorted out, in the sense that you are not just a guy who has a day job and then wants to play at a few venues at night. But you're a serious musician who wants to just play music for life, because that's what he wants to do in life. That's when you start thinking as to what all you want to do. Once you know that, okay, you can write songs, you have a few songs ready, you have an album. Now your role comes in at a much later stage, where artists are already thinking what all should they be doing. So at that point, when I'm speaking to you, I already kind of am on the same wavelength as you. Where I'm like, okay, listen, dude, I have music and stuff. I need someone to plan this out for me. What can you do for me? That's where the conversation starts. And then you come up with your secret sauces and show me, okay, by what all is possible.
Exactly.
And it's not a rosy picture with, like $1 million recording deal and stuff like that. It's still just the next step in your career. It's not the final frontier.
You know how you mentioned that the traditional record labels it isn't that anymore, and things have changed, right? Like for starters, most record labels back in the day, I mean, you're called a record label when you have a studio and you're a producer. Most record labels were producer led. Right. Recently, this happened to me. This is also coming out in November. I forgot to mention this. There are 3 artists electronic artists, who sort of got together and wrote a song, and they've sent it to me for Oaf to release.
Okay.
Right. And I was really confused when I got it, because I was like, what do you want me to do with this? Because it's basically said, I've written a song. We feel it'll fit your roster. Take. So I'm like, the song was really sick, but I'm confused. Like, do they want me to sign them? Because even if I do, I don't know how to do it, because there are 3 different artists from 3 different cities.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they have only collaborated in the first place.
Okay.
And these are artists who I have featured in things like Lyric Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Or I might have, one of my artists has collabed with them or something like that, right? And these 3 artists got together, wrote a song, and I was really confused about what they want from me, right? Because I'm like, I can release it, but what the fuck? Like, what does that do for you? That's when I spoke to them and I realized these guys just want to release a song under Oaf to see what that's like. And what they've done is written a song that will fit my genre, and a song that I like, that will fit my roster rather. So whatever that meant, because I don't know how it fits my roster because there are like a lot of genres, but essentially what's happening with that is once that started happening, I have 4-5 other people who are doing this now. So I've realized I've called it Anomalies by Oaf. The idea is that with Anomalies, I have a platform where I can release songs for artists in situations where, say, there's a singer-songwriter who also writes trap music. He can release a trap song under me. If he's worried about, fuck, how do I do it? Where do I do it? What do people think? He can release under Anomalies.
Yeah. But then actually the concept of you being the record label for them is just the name on your roster.
Exactly.
You're not selling their music. You're not making money off their sales.
Exactly.
And that's the difference between the record labels of today and yesterday.
That's what.
The whole ideas are changing.
Our infrastructure also.
Which is why a lot of distribution people are doing.
I don't have a big signing thing with any of my bands.
There's no contract as such.
There is no. So many of these things are just like exactly like you said, right? We're all finding our own ways to do it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, dude.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we've covered everything. Did we miss out on anything from the list that we kind of prepared the last time we spoke?
Yeah, no, there was the tour, there was the crowdfund. Did you want to ask me about that?
Crowdfunding, yeah. That tour that you crowdfunded, right?
Yeah.
With the band.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name, but I just remember you having a campaign with the band that did a tour around 3 or 4 countries, and that was crowdfunded. So what's that tour?
3 countries crowdfunded. So this was that same tour. The bands we took were Cinema of Excess and Mahesh. So there were 8 of us that traveled. It was the bands, it was me, and we had a tiny little video crew that came along. So it was 2 guys who were helping with video because I knew that I'd want to document the whole thing. So we have a 5-episode documentary that's coming out starting 5th November. So the boys essentially played 6 paid shows across 12 days.
And did they play only 6 shows or did they play more shows?
6 shows.
Only. Like non-paid shows or any of those kinds?
All paid shows. Every show was a paid show. So we did 1 in Bangkok, 3 in Cambodia, 2 in Bangkok, 3 in Cambodia, and 1 in Vietnam. So now the idea for that was we called it the boarding pass tour. And what we did was essentially we opened a crowdfund campaign just talking about wanting to send Cinema of Excess and Mahesh on a crowdfunded international tour. And our target was 8 lakhs. And we put it out. We, really spent time on like our offerings, and we were only giving stickers and posters. Outside of that, we were doing things like master classes, a pizza party, just come and chill with the boys, things like that. So the idea was we ran a 30-day campaign. We did this on Keto, and we raised 5.5 lakhs. We didn't hit our 8 lakh target. But what that allowed us to do was we were initially planning to go on a 4-country tour. 4 or maybe even 5.
One was the 4th
if we got the 8. Malaysia. Yeah. So the idea was to hit Malaysia as well. But again, so we hit 5.5 lakhs. We sort of planned it out in a way where everybody was given per DMs. So there was a food budget every day. And so essentially you could come for the tour even if you had no money, as long as you're willing to just eat, pay, and leave. And again, the per diems are also solid enough. Those countries are cheap, dude.
Yeah, I know, man. I've been to Vietnam, so I know.
Cheap.
Like, I pay a bill of millions, but like...
it's nuts. So, like, those countries are cheap as shit. So, like, if you're talking $5 for a meal, you can be full with a beer and $1.2.
Dude, this reminds me of that
every single time,
where they end up in Bratislava or something, and that guy buys a restaurant with a nickel. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Yeah. Proper that vibe.
So yeah, that's what. So I mean, we sorted out the per diems, did it in a way where we carried some extra cash. We actually could have gone to another country, but the way I planned it, we kept a lakh aside in case we get fucked.
Huh. Yeah.
And
Rainy
with
day.
multiple reasons, so many things can happen, right?
Huh.
And we faced a lot of baggage issues once we hit, the Southeast Asian countries,
Man.
because they have some crazy things like all the 25 kilos
Flying
has to be in.
internally just fucks up on the baggage costs.
Yeah. Like they have things like you might have purchased 30 kilos extra, but all the 30 kilos has to be in one bag. If you have one more bag, it's another $65. If you have two more bags, it's 65 into
Cheap airlines may these scenes happen.
Yeah, crazy shit like that. So, we were arguing with them saying, do you want me to put the guitar into a fucking suitcase? How the fuck do you do that? There are obviously going to be two bags, things like that. So it went nuts. And yeah, so the idea there was we ran this campaign for 30 days. And we had, constant updates that were going out to people. We constantly, made updates on how and when we're raising money and things like that. And we hit 5.5 lakhs and we left on October 8th last year. Okay. And we played a bunch of shows and, a lot changed for all of us after that tour because, it was the first time, like I said, right, you're going to a venue when nobody needs to listen to you. And before you walked in, you already know that they're probably not going to listen to you. And that was another thing. Like, I was just talking to Anurag from Rolling Stone for the release of these videos. So there's a little interview that I'm doing with him there. One of the things he'd asked is advice for bands that want to do this, right? One of the main things for me is I knew that Cinema of Excess and Mahesh were ready to take on the pressures of it.
Right. Okay.
They were comfortable enough in their own skin.
These situations. Maybe they just mentally prepared for it.
Yeah, mentally prepared with the fact that you have to look at each other's faces for 12 days. You have to get on stage together. You have to sleep together. You have to eat together. You have to travel together. That is one part of it. That goes without saying for any band that's touring. But more than that, for a band that is okay with going to a venue where people might cuss you out, right? Yeah. We had a few people individually.
It might all be the picture that you imagined of you going for an international tour.
No, so honestly, for me, it was. For them, it wasn't. So I made sure that it was.
I'm saying that for anyone going, they should not be expecting their international tour to be a
exactly.
Glamorous,
And you know what? Even to these guys, I told them as much as Cinema of Excess and Mahesh, that is, we came back. I told them as much as we got to go on a tour, and you guys need to understand the value of who you guys are now that you all have gone for a tour and you all killed it. Also understand that between you and me, I told them, this is barely a tour. We did the number of shows we could do based on the money we raised. Nobody booked us.
Yeah.
Nobody cares when we're coming next.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck. Yeah. So as much as you feel, good that you went on a tour, understand it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not calling it a tour for myself.
Very good advice.
Until my artist gets booked. Yeah. My artist gets
like
paid.
Talk about, the recoil value, the customer coming back to you.
Exactly.
That means you created value.
Yeah. Like it's easy to fall into that. Oh, you did a crowdfund. I also want to do a crowdfund and go. First of all, it's not that simple to make all that money.
Yeah.
Secondly, once you do it, it might suck. If you don't plan it well, you can really get screwed also.
It just shows you that, okay, you can do a crowdfunded thing and this is how it happens. But then next time, I think if you want to do a crowdfunded thing, you will obviously, off the back of your past experiences, do better.
Yeah.
Like to
and that's what, the way I see it, I'm done. I can't do another crowdfund. I don't want to do another crowdfund. I told these guys too. Like, I wasn't very happy doing the crowdfund.
More than a tour, if we probably do a crowdfunding for, say, a live show in Bangalore or something, that would make sense because people will get instant returns for their investment. Okay, we got to see them live. And plus for the people who funded, you can give them that special merch and like there's a whole experience that you can create for those fans.
Yeah, merch also. Since you brought that up, like none of my artists have merch. None of them. Okay. And I've told them specifically not to get into it.
Special rule of Oaf Gang.
No, it's just something that. See, I feel Cinema of Excess is ready for merch.
Okay.
Stevie is ready for merch.
It's right. Important ready for merch.
Yeah, I look at it as them being ready for merch and not because album hai, paisa hai, let's release merch. What the fuck, you know?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
It's more of a thing where, again, this is what I mean. Like my method of working with them, there are a few things that I'm going to play and I'm going to approach it based on me playing the long game, not the
Yeah.
quick game. So, merch is something everybody wants, right? It's really cool to have merch of your own
And
band
it's
and wear it.
actually one of the most lucrative
But the way I
streams
see
of
it,
revenue
if
for an artist.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what the way I see it right now with the money that we're making and the money that needs to be spent. I've found better ways of spending that same money that you spend on merch to, get
Better
more of
value.
a direct return on what
Yeah.
you want to do.
Yeah.
So we've just been sort of playing around with that, like the right time for everything.
For sure. I totally agree on that. Um, right. So, I mean, great chat. We have spoken about a lot of things, and I'm actually glad that I spoke to you. Like, actually, I've been speaking to a lot of artist managers, and I ended up speaking to you about artist management a lot, but this went a lot beyond that. And when I spoke to you for the first time on
Yeah,
phone, I saw that this was, even though this was similar to what I've been doing in my previous episodes, there is a lot more to this that needs to be shared.
yeah.
So I'm glad we did this.
Same man. Thank you
It
so
was
much.
so random that I even found you. Uh,
Yeah.
I first found your band. I heard their album, and man, I really loved the band. So and I didn't even know that was Oaf Records at that time. I just went digging
Yeah.
into the band, like we discussed. You're a fan. You just listen to the music, and then you go down that rabbit hole. Okay, okay, who are
Yeah.
these
Find out
people?
who
What's
they
it
are.
about? This and that.
Yeah.
So that's how I found you. And I mean, dude, your visual game is top. Like I saw
Thank
that,
you.
and it gave me like a full different impression, which is why I was like asking you, okay, bro, tera team kya karta hai? Like, tera A&R
That's what.
kya hai? Ye, wo hai. And
That's
I prepared
what.
myself while emailing you
Yeah.
also like that only, okay, bro, I'll ask you about your label and all. But then it turned out to be something
Yeah.
it got very real that, okay, this is how I operate, and this is how I'm trying to do
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
in my country, because
Yeah.
everyone is trying to do things in their own way and
Yeah.
succeeding bit by bit at it.
Yeah.
That's what was important. And I'm glad that, we spoke about so many things. I had a great
Yeah, man. Same.
talking to you.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Yeah, man. Pleasure. Pleasure.